So from here, we'll move into non-conformance trending. So, back to quoting the regulation, the non-fulfillment of purchasing requirements shall be addressed with the supplier proportionate to the risk. So again, risk-based decision on those non-conformances, how do we manage those? So, where are you getting your non-conformances from? They're coming incoming inspection, in process, potentially field complaints. So your post-market team should also be feeding back to your supplier quality team if there's any challenges there. And then define that non-conformance and grade it. So, again, going back to risk-based. So if a component is failing and it's a functional defect that can cause patient harm, obviously you're going to react a lot differently to that than if there's a graphic or a printing smudge on that product. So, grade that. Is it mechanical? Is it functional? Is it visual? And then based off that, set up your action plan, proceduralize your action plan on what you're going to do with those non-conformances and those types of non-conformances. I think the other piece here that is often missed is the regulatory piece. So, just because it's fully functional and fully compliant, it might have regulatory concerns if a supplier changed a material or things like that, or change manufacturing location. There's some regulatory implications there that you might want to take action on.
How often in the past 5 to 6 years has your team or you specifically got involved in terms of service and repair? And the reason I ask that question is one of the positions we've worked on in the last year. As you look at the MDR, you look at the changes in regulations, certainly there's a lot more liability to go around than there was previously. And that's one of the things that I've seen over the last 2 years, that more companies are like, wait a minute, we've been focused on this, but we haven't really taken these regulations and applied them to the service and repair aspect. So we've worked on a couple of leadership positions relevant to that. And a key aspect of that was, okay, it comes in, define, is it normal wear and tear? Is it a service scenario? Or is this something that had to deal with affecting the patient? And then it gets moved to regulatory, design quality, and compliance. So I didn't know, I was just kind of curious how much you interacted with that and how that ties into suppliers.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely great point. And it does have to be managed. You need to set that up. How you're going to manage those service pieces. The more and more products are being reusable, and as you get into power devices that have a longer multi-use, multi-patient type scenario, you need to understand that, and that should be set up all ahead of time so that you have that data. And when those events happen, you already have the guidance internally on how you're going to manage those and react to those. So define that non-conformance, and then what are we going to look at? You're going to look at the NC type. So what's the non-conformance type? The grade, what's that risk? The disposition. Did you use that part? Did you reject it? Did you return it to the vendor for sort? Did you have to rework it? What are those? Because sometimes you can trend off of that and potentially make design changes. Say, hey, we keep using this part over and over again that doesn't meet spec, but it's fully functional. Do we want to open up the design to make it easier for the supplier to be able to make that part? What did it go through proper early supplier involvement and things like that, and as part of the design? Can we open that up? The quantities, the part numbers, the part types, et cetera, et cetera. So, and then once you get that data, start tracking it, and you'll start to see trends and challenges in certain areas. So this is a graph I pulled, but there's the dimensional concerns, corrosion concerns, short circuits, tool marks. So there's all different ways to classify this, and once you have that data, you can leverage all kinds of tools like Power BI, even Excel, and be able to leverage that data and then start making smart decisions off it. But I think the key thing is when you're using it, track and trend it, but then use it, monitor, take action, and document those actions. I think just getting the data, you're only doing half the task. Use that data, take action, work with the supplier, understand those challenges, and then work with them to get through those challenges. Because a lot of these are going to be repeat occurrences. So if you see a trend and react to that early, that trend stops. And then you don't have another series of the same defect year over year over year. So, react to the trends, use the trends to your advantage.
Yeah, if you're collecting data and you're not evaluating it, determining how you can get better with it, and you're sort of wasting your time a little bit.
Yeah. I think way too many corporations just collect the data, check a box and then move on. But it's taking the action and documenting those actions for improvement. That's the supplier development piece. That's understanding your supplier, working with your supplier. You're partners with your supplier. If they do well, you do well. They are truly an extension to your clean room. So you need to make sure that you're working with them. And this is one way to help them.